So welcome to your practice, and today's focus is a bit on uh, it's a heart opening focus, but when I think about that, isn't all yoga a heart opening focus? So that's kind of fun to play around with. But I wanted to chat for just a minute about how um, this interplay between stillness and movement, and how flow. We really want to find this balance with flow in our lives and in our practice. Our practice helps us find it in our lives. So, when we opt for stillness, we realize that the heart is still beating, the breath is still, we're still breathing, all of our systems are functioning, and it's kind of easy to see that that dynamism between stillness and action. But oftentimes, when we choose action, when we choose movement, it's unconscious or it's disconnected from our intention of the movement. And it's a little trickier, I think, sometimes to uh, be conscious. And this is where a practice like yoga really allows us to um, invite mindfulness into our action. So if you think about, especially those in Bellingham, I'm not sure about where you are, Kaisa, but the the source of the river, if you think about a river flowing from its source to the sea, which you get to see in Bellingham up close, the riverbed or the objects along the way channel the flow. And sometimes the flow itself alters the shape that holds it. And if the riverbed or if the structure is too rigid, the flow is constricted. But if the flow is too powerful, sometimes can become the flow becomes indiscriminate, or a new path is forged, which isn't necessarily a bad thing either. But with practice, I think we find this balance between flow in the flow, um, and our practice, yoga practice, our life practice, really becomes this optimal expression of flow. So we're going to flow a bit. We're going to work with opening the heart. And we're going to finish with Natarasana, dancer pose, and have some nice versions of that to work with. So we'll start on our back. And have your blocks and your strap nearby for that. And just take a couple minutes to move in a way that feels supportive for you. I'll chime in here shortly. Great. So with your feet, the soles of your feet on the floor, knees bent, so position of comfort, just take the heel of your hand to your hip pointers, so the bony front portion of your pelvis, and do a few pelvic tilts here, just feeling how the hip pointers shift in relation to the rest of your body. And we're gonna come back to the hip pointers, using that as a reference in a couple of shapes. So just really feel into that. So on your inhale, you might draw the pubic bone away from the navel. So an anterior tilt of the pelvis. And then on your exhale, draw your low back down towards the floor and pubic bone towards the navel in a posterior tilt. And your hip pointer should sort of slide along the palm of your hand as you move forward and backward. And you could keep your hands there just for reference, but you could also take them away. And then some windshield wiper, knees side to side. Again, sort of just being curious about what's happening in your pelvis. So many things we sort of need to warm up for heart opening or back bending. And then do take your arms out to a T position and take maybe the block that's behind you, set it underneath your sacrum, and bring one knee in towards your chest and the other leg long. Try not to just let your back sag down to the floor, but keep some engagement in your back. And then you'll switch legs. Bring the other knee in, other leg extended long. If it feels okay for your low back, you can take both legs outstretched and just, we're working to open the front of the hip, get into the psoas, iliopsoas complex a bit. And then bring the soles of your feet to the floor. Press your hips up and take the block back to its position. And lower yourself down to the floor. Now from this position, just take a few rounds of dynamic bridge. And just warming up your spine. Or feeling into the spine, the condition of your spine at this point in time as you come to practice. Great. And then from here, either taking the edges of your mat or crossing at the ankles, rolling to one side, come up to a seat. Remove your down jacket. And we'll start in Virasana. So you can sit between your ankles right to the floor, or you could use the block in the medium setting, which is what I'm going to do. So I'm squeezing the block between my ankles and I'm sitting right down, sit bones on the block. Great. And then let's bring the arms out to T. Externally rotate your arms so that your palms begin to face upward. Notice what happens with your low ribs if they start to jut forward and you get this excessive arch in your low back. And then draw the hip pointers up. So you could even take your hands and sort of grab the hip pointers and pull them up towards your ribs. And press your sit bones into the block. And then inhale your arms up, bringing the palms either together or facing one another. Keep pressing sit bones down into the block and get a sense of your hip pointers drawing up. And then interlace your hands or take one wrist with the opposite hand and just do a little side bend in one direction. Come back up, side bend in the opposite direction. And back up. And just take a few side openers, especially if you've just gotten out of bed. Stickiness between the ribs, good. And then lower your arms back down. Take a breath, go through that same sequence again, bringing your arms out to T, turning the palms up, lifting the hip pointers, pressing sit bones into the block. Inhale your arms up. So now the palms can just face one another. And then just slide your ribs to the left, back to center. Slide your ribs to the right, back to center. And you should feel a little engagement in the obliques, side of the core. Try not to collapse in your back here. So keep lifting, pressing sit bones down, lifting hip pointers up. Good. And then release. Take a breath. Go again. Arms out to T. Turn palms up. Bring your hands towards one another. Draw your sit bones down into the block and your hip pointers up. And then from here on your next exhale, twist in one direction, opposite hand to the outside of that thigh. Inhale, come back to center. And exhale, spin and twist in the opposite direction. So you can have a hand behind you and a hand to the opposite thigh. And then come back to center. Take your hands out to T. Turn the palms. Press the sit bones down. Hip pointers lift. Reach up. And exhale, take another twist. And here, just hold this twist for 2 full breaths. You could derotate the head if that felt nice. And come back to center. Arms out to T. Turn palms up. Draw your sit bones down into the block. Lift the hip pointers. Inhale, arms up. And exhale, twist in the opposite direction. Take 2 rounds of breath here. Come back to center. Now from this position, while squeezing the block between, keep the block right where it is and squeeze it between your ankles, come forward to table. All right, so you have the block between your ankles. Just do a couple of pumps with that. So lifting the block up towards your bum, squeezing the block between your ankles, waking up your hamstrings. Great, and then you can just set it down. Bring your hips back towards the block, hands forward, come into puppy pose. And then swing hips right and left. Slide your hands back towards your knees, come to table, and take a few rounds of cat-cow. Coming back to a neutral spine, turn your toes under, lift your knees, press your hips back and up, and come into downward facing dog. Great, now from this downward dog, inhale the right leg up and out behind you. And then bend your right knee and stack your right hip over your left hip. So we're going to flow, and there's a couple of options here. You can open all the way up. You can bend through the standing leg, the left leg, take your right foot to the floor and open up into wild thing. come back, right hand to the floor, right leg up, and knee in towards your chest. Then extend the right leg out, bend the right knee, stack the right hip over the left hip, go back to Wild Thing, and then flip back over, bringing your right knee into your chest. Or you can see, if you're looking, I'm paused here. I just have my right hip stacked over my left hip. And then to complete the flow, I just come back, square my hips, bring my knee into my nose, towards my nose. Then inhale, reach back, open the hips. So you can go all the way to Wild Thing, or you can just flow back and forth, just stacking the hips. And then coming back to square with your hips, bringing your right knee into your nose. So 3 to 5 times. And then place the right foot back to the floor, downward facing dog. Inhale the left leg out. Bend through the left knee and stack the left hip over the right hip. Again, you could bend the standing leg and bring your left leg all the way behind and come into Wild Thing. Then come back with the left hand to the mat. Bend the left knee, bring it in towards your chest. Repeat that sequence. Or you could just stack the left knee over, or left hip over the right hip, and swing the knee back in, squaring your hips, bring your knee in towards your chest. And after 3 to 5, take your left foot back to the floor. Great. Now walk your feet up towards your hands. You should have that second block there at the front of your mat. And come into a halfway lift. And exhale, fold. Have your hands attached to something so you have a closed circuit, so to speak. Inhale, halfway lift. And then bending through your knees, set your hips back, reach your arms forward, so a deep squat. And press up to standing. Tadasana. From this Tadasana, you can run through a couple of sun salutations, or just wait for us in Tadasana. We'll meet in Tadasana. From this Tadasana, inhale, sweep your arms up, and exhale, fold through center. Take your hands to the block, step your left foot back, take your knee to the floor, and come into a lunge. So come into the 90-90 position to start. So right knee bent, back knee is on the floor, and then take your block. Take your block to the inside of your right foot, left hand to the block, and just drop forward into a low lunge. Now, see if you can lift the hip pointers back up towards, so shorten the space between your hip pointers and your navel. You can have your right hand on your thigh here. And press yourself up. Keeping your right hand, you might have to move the block back a bit, but keep your left hand attached to the block and inhale the right arm up. Side bending to the left. Come back up. Now bend through the back knee and bring your left foot up in the air. Reach around with your right hand and take your left foot. You can feel a deep stretch in the left thigh. You're twisted open. Let the heart lead here as you open. Then release your foot, come back to that 90-90. Inhale the arms up, reach the hip pointers up, and draw the tailbone down towards the floor. Now from here, hands to hips, take your back leg, so the knee that's on the floor, and just turn it out like a kickstand. Now, if you have your other block behind you, you could use that or just take the one from the front. You're going to come into an Ardha Chandrasana on your knee. So extending the right leg long. You can take the block on any level that you desire and stack the top shoulder over the bottom shoulder. Pull your toes back towards your shins and maybe bend through that top leg and take your foot with your hand. Let your heart press open. Head relaxed. And if you've got your top foot, extend back out through that leg. Take that foot to the floor and slowly press yourself up. Turn the front foot, turn the back leg, come back to that 90-90. Inhale, reach your arms up overhead. Exhale, fold down around the front foot with your hands. Three-legged dog. And then downward facing dog. You could go through a vinyasa here, a sun salutation, or you can just meet us in downward facing dog. You might have to shift your block in some fancy way back up to the front of your mat. And on your next inhale, walk your feet up to your hands, halfway lift. Bending through your knees, take your hips back, take your arms forward, Utkatasana. And then press yourself up to standing. Take your time, might feel a little dizzy. Tadasana. Inhale, sweep your arms up. And exhale, fold through center. Taking your hands to the floor of the block, step your right foot back now. Right knee comes to the floor, and you're in a 90-90 on the other side. So a 90-degree bend in the front leg, the left foot on the floor, 90-degree bend in the back leg, right knee on the ground. Then with your block on the inside of your front foot, come forward, stretching the back, front of the back thigh and hip flexor, but draw your hip pointers up. So kind of lift the hip pointers. And you might have to come up and sort of feel that with your hands. You can actually take your peace fingers and kind of draw the hip pointers up. So as you come down, keep the hip pointers lifting up towards your low ribs. Hip points. Good. And come back up, fingertips to the block. Inhale the left arm up, side bend to the right. Inhale back to center. And now you'll turn the back leg, the right leg, you'll turn it like a kickstand. You take your block to that side of your body and stretch the left leg out. Again, the block can go at any level, so it's kind of an Ardha Chandrasana shape on your knee. A lot of work in the hip. Some point you could bend through the top knee, leg and take your foot in your hand. You could keep the leg extended and stack shoulders. Then we'll take the left foot down to the floor, slide forward, turn your body around, come back to that 90-90. Inhale the arms up. Exhale, fold down around the front foot, three-legged dog. Downward dog. Go through a sun salutation if that would make you happy. We'll meet in Tadasana. From Tadasana, inhale the arms up, and then exhale, fold through center. Halfway lift. Exhale, fold, hands to the floor, step the left foot back, take your left knee to the floor. So you're in the 90-90 position again. Inhale, sweep the arms up. And this time, interlace your hands behind your back. As you come forward, reach the arms off the back, draw the heart up. See if you can lift your hip points up. And release your hands. Grab your block, take it to the inside of your front foot. Come back to this Ardha Chandrasana. So you have to turn that bottom leg. And then from here, take your extended leg, your top leg, place it behind you, place it behind the bottom leg, and then open your chest up towards the ceiling. So it's a little bit like Wild Thing, but on your knee. Let your head go. And sweep the top arm back. Take the bottom leg back and forward. So you're back in the 90-90. Bring the block forward. Turn the back toes. Come up into a lunge. So I'm resting my hands on the block. Back leg lifted now. Front leg bent. Lift the hip pointers, the hip points. Good, then step forward, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Hips down, hips back, arms forward, Utkatasana, and press yourself up. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, fold. Take your hands to the floor, step your right foot back. Right knee on the floor, 90-90. Good, so you're in the 90-90 position again. You want your hand on the front on the block, your right hand on the block. Turn your left foot out slightly, right foot out slightly. So the one that's bent and behind. And come back to that Ardha Chandrasana, or just begin there. Move away here a little bit from my wall space. You'll come back there and then take that top leg behind, opening your heart, opening your whole body. It's a pretty big opener, and you're in sort of a Wild Thing, but you're on your knee instead of on your foot. And then with the top arm, swing back. Step your left foot forward, you're back to the 90-90. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, down around the front foot, three-legged dog. Downward facing dog. Vinyasa if you choose. We'll meet in Tadasana. So make your way eventually to Tadasana. We'll meet there. Great. So now from this Tadasana, let's step the left foot back in a warrior one shape. Sort of not too much angle on the back foot for this warrior one, so kind of crescent warrior shape. Good. And we'll inhale the arms up. So front leg is bent, back leg is straight. And we're gonna exhale, we're gonna open the arms in, open the heart, and dip the back knee down. And then inhale back up to center, or back up to the starting position. Exhale, dip the back knee down, keep the front leg bent. Heart opens, inhale, come back to the starting position. Let's take 3 more on this side. Great. And then the last time you come up, let's exhale, turn the back foot and open into a warrior two. You might have to adjust your feet slightly. Straighten through the front leg. Reach the front ribs forward and tilt into Trikonasana. Two more full breaths in this Trikonasana, drawing the right hip underneath. And then bend through the front leg as you sweep the arms up. Turn both feet to face the same direction. Take a breath here. Inhale, reach your crown long. Draw the hip points up. And then open your chest. So it's just like a baby back bend, really stable in the legs. Hip points drawing up. And then sweep your arms forward around your back, bring your hands together in front of you. Then we'll open up again. And on the exhale, round your back, bring your palms together. One more. Then take your hands to your hips, turn left foot forward, straighten through your leg. We're going backwards, so triangle first. Go in the reverse order of that little sequence we did, so triangle. On your next inhale, bend through your front leg, sweep your arms into warrior two. And then inhale, as you inhale and turn your back foot, you'll come into the crescent lunge on this side. Good, this is the inhale, arms are up, front leg is bent, back leg is straight, and on the exhale, open your heart space and dip the back leg down. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale. So the back knee dipping down, much as possible, heart is open. One more. Good, come back to the crescent lunge with the back leg straight. Inhale the fingertips towards the ceiling. Exhale down around your front foot, sweeping the front foot back, three-legged dog to downward facing dog. Squeeze the legs. And then from here, drop your forearms to the floor. And walk your feet towards your knees a little bit and come into dolphin. Press into your forearms, draw the shoulder blades down and away. Navel in. And then extend through one elbow, then the opposite, come back to downward facing dog. Walk your hands back towards your feet. So not quite all the way, so you're in sort of a pretty open forward fold. Or a short downward dog. Then bend through your knees, take your hips back, take your arms forward. So Utkatasana, deep squat, and press yourself up to standing. Good, now you're gonna need your belt. And we'll start with, if you have just a place you can put a hand, it doesn't have to be a wall, it could be a door jamb, it could be the back of a couch, just something you can help steady yourself. Natarasana is a one-legged balance. It's not just a heart opener. So we're going to start with the strap and something to help you with your balance. So I'm going to face my wall space here with my left hand on the wall. I'm going to bend through my right knee and catch my right foot in the strap. And then slide my hands towards the end of the strap. I might have to play a little bit with the loop. I promise it does work. And you'll just take the strap in one hand, the right hand, keep your left hand on your whatever you're using for balance, and just begin to tilt forward as you take the back leg and press that foot into the strap. Then we'll release. So we're going to go in stages, and we'll take the other side. So wade into your right foot. You're going to take the strap, like a little bit like fishing. You'll put it on your left foot. Right, so knees together. So this could be your starting position right here. I just have my knees together. My left leg is bent and the strap around my foot. If that feels pretty good, begin to lean forward, kicking the back foot against the strap, leaning forward, tilting forward. I still have my hand against something for balance. And then coming out. So shake out, walk around your space, and we'll go back to the first side. Let's move my mat out of the way here. So back to the first side. I have my point of balance. I'm going to loop my foot. My knees are even with one another. I sort of slide my arm behind. And now I'm going to try to go both hands on the belt. So I get the foot in the right position. I start to lean forward, taking both hands to the belt, pressing the back foot into the belt, leaning forward, drawing hip pointers up, hip points up. I continue to lean forward. I got both hands on the belt. And release. Whew, just in time. Try the other side. So start with the whatever it is that's helping you balance the wall, door jamb. Get your loop in there. Bend the knees, or bend the left knee, even with the right knee. And then you can sort of, it does take a little coordination to get the belt in the right spot. Great. So once you have that, press your foot against the belt. See if you can bring both hands to the belt now. Leaning forward, tilting forward, kicking the back foot into the belt. Draw the hip points up. Draw them up towards your rib cage. Pressing firmly into the standing leg. Good, and release. Great. Now just try without the belt. So if you need to run through a sun salutation, warm up the joints again, we're just gonna come into this from a standing position, from Tadasana. So once we're all in Tadasana, bend, put your weight into your right foot, and you could start again with your hand close to something for balance, just to get you started. Bend the right knee and you take the inside of the foot if that's possible. If not, take the outside. But there's an internal rotation with the arm, taking the inside of the foot. Standing nice and tall, reach the left arm up, tilt forward, pressing your foot into your hand. So the counter is, as I tilt forward more and reach my right hand up and away, I press my left foot into my left hand. Perhaps opening a little bigger. And release. Okay, we'll try the other side. Same starting position, and you can use some wall space to help you get started. Bend through the right knee. Left leg is strong. Bring your hand to the inside of the foot. Outside if that's where you need to be. And then pressing through, foot through hand, extend opposite arm, left arm up. And then begin to tilt forward. Any amount is fine, of course. Pressing your foot into your hand, reaching. Can you sense where your hip points are going? Draw them up. Ooh, that kind of made me fall out of balance. Press foot into hand. And release. Good. From here, take a little wider stance with your feet and circle through your hips. All right, so we're going to try that all in just a little flow, a very short flow. So Tadasana. Inhale, sweep arms up. Exhale, fold through center. Hands to the floor, step or jump back, downward facing dog. Inhale, come forward, high plank. Exhale, lower through Chaturanga or some variation of Chaturanga. And inhale into Cobra, upward facing dog, some variation thereof. If you're in that upward dog or the variation like I have my knees down, draw your hip pointers up. Then curl toes, press back, downward facing dog. Walk your feet up to your hands, halfway lift. Set your hips back, press your arms forward. So Utkatasana, press yourself up. Tadasana. Bend through the right knee, weight into the left foot. Take your hand to your right foot and inhale, opposite arm up. Holding here, exhale, press. Foot into hand, pull against your foot. Natarasana. Inhale as you release the back foot and bring that knee up. Standing figure four. Exhale, right foot to the floor. Inhale, sweep arms up. Exhale, fold through center. Hands to the floor, step or jump back, downward facing dog. Inhale, come forward, high plank. Exhale, lower to the floor, any way you desire. Inhale, cobra, upward facing dog, some variation. Draw the hip points up, and then curl your toes, press back, downward facing dog. Walk your feet up to your hands, halfway lift. Exhale, set your hips back, set your arms forward, Utkatasana. Pressing into your feet, step up, Tadasana. Put your weight into your right foot, bend your left knee, take the inside of your left foot. Reach the right arm up and release yourself or exhale yourself into Natarasana. Inhale, release and sweep the left knee up. Exhale, step that foot down, Tadasana. Inhale, sweep the arms up. Exhale, widen your feet and come into a deep squat. So here you could have a block, or you could rest your elbows in between your knees, just come into a deep squat. You can be sitting on a block. And then release your hands to the floor, set your hips down to the floor. Take your legs into the fire pose, if possible. If that's not in your hip possibilities, just pull the top foot in a little bit. But as much as you can, the lower legs are parallel to one another. Inhale, length through your spine. Draw the hip pointers up. And then just folds forward slightly so you feel some release in the hips. Lengthening in the hips. So we're going to flow here a little bit. So as you inhale, you'll press yourself up, take your hands behind your back, bring your feet to Baddha Konasana, and come forward. Taking your hands, just resting your hands on your feet. Keep your back long. If you need to grab your blocks for support in this Baddha Konasana, do so, please. Taking a couple breaths there. And then reaching the hands back behind, crossing opposite leg on top, coming forward. Draw the hip pointers up. This may be where you stay. You might have to tuck that top foot in a little bit. And then with this nice long spine, come forward. Just arching, or not arching, but tilting forward. So the low back stays with a little bit of an arch or neutral. So you're not slouching in your back here. Come forward. Great. From here, we'll come down to our backs for a figure four, or you can come right back to your knees to downward dog and take pigeon in the more traditional way. So if you want to take pigeon, see if you can get front leg, hip down to the floor, walk hands back. Again, I'm back in a back bendy kind of shape. Can I draw the hip pointers up? So you might be on your back doing a figure four, which is great, or you might be in this more upright pigeon. So do what you need to on your back. If you're in a more traditional kind of pigeon pose, you'll drop onto whatever leg is in the front, drop onto that hip and swing the opposite leg around, placing it on the outside of your bottom leg. And then you can hug that knee in, take your forearm to the outside. Bottom leg doesn't have to stay bent. You get the same benefit with that leg straight. So coming into a little twist here. And a good easy transition from here to the other side, pigeon on the other side, is just to bring that foot, the leg that's crossed over, just bring that forward, sweep the other leg back. And now you're set up on the other side. So once again, most of you have practiced quite a bit. If you need something under that hip to make sure that the pelvis stays pretty level and balanced in your pigeon. Draw the back leg back. Now, as I bring my hands towards my chest and I stay in this upright position, I want to see if I can bring my hip pointers, lift my hip pointers, my hip points. I don't know why I keep calling them hip pointers, but it's what I'm stuck on today. Good. And you might even play here. I didn't cue this on the first side, but you could bring the back leg up and reach around for that foot. Then your front leg, that hip drops to the floor so you can swing the back leg around and take a twist. And again, bottom leg can be extended out if your knees are bothering you. Just come into a twist here. Exhaling to unfold. Take your hands back behind your back. Come back to Baddha Konasana. Maybe you have the ability to fold forward slightly in the Baddha Konasana. Take your hands to the outsides of your knees to bring your knees up towards one another and slide yourself into a position that you can take the back of your legs and roll yourself down. Taking any other movements you might need here before you settle into Shavasana. And just an invitation in the Shavasana to press the back of your head into the floor. Draw your shoulder blades underneath so you feel your whole shoulder blade really pressing into the back. So you're open in your heart. Collarbones are widening, spreading, and you have a real open sense in your heart space. If this is too much for your low back in this position, which it can be for me sometimes, you can bend your knees and take the soles of your feet to the floor and just rest your knees together. And then let yourself release here into the support of the floor, the support of the earth. So we're being held and supported as we open the heart. So we have that dynamism of the flow of the river, the banks, the container. It's not too rigid, but we don't have just this indiscriminate, my heart is all over the place, I open it to everyone. We have a nice balance there. And then soften your eyes, the muscles around your eyes. Soften your jaw. You might toggle the jaw back and forth to really let the jaw relax. Your teeth are separated, so there's no tension in your jaw. Soften your hands. And let the next inhale you take be received in a softening belly. Take your time, rolling to one side if that would feel nice. If you'd like to join me in a seat, you can. Touching your heart with one or two hands, the thumbs in prayer or palms. It's really recognizing what a beautiful heart you have, how giving and receiving is part of your nature, how your heart can be full of the things that you care about, and really encourage you, invite you to move and have action that is conscious, that is aware, and that matters to you. So may the merit of our practice encourage all beings to unveil the hidden brilliance that lies within all of our hearts, all of our essence. Namaste.